Welcome to the Lighthouse Show. We are so excited to be back with you. I feel like we take these little hiatuses, but much needed, and we want to make sure we're bringing biblical principles to you and also having fun, showing you how we kind of live our lives. So again, I am Toya Brewster.
I am Jonathan Brewster.
And welcome to the Lighthouse Show.
Welcome.
So today we have a really interesting topic today. And what we wanted to do is just kind of discuss one of the Bible casts that we actually watched together. And there's two parts to this Bible cast, I believe, but the first part and the one we'll talk about today. So the title of this particular podcast is Do You Want to Keep a Man? And this one was done by Dr. R.A. Vernon. And so we are members of the Living Word Church Ministries in Fairburn, Georgia, but a lot of times we also have other pastors and preachers that we like to watch, and we usually watch them via YouTube. So sort of like we love T.D. Jakes. One of my favorite pastors is Dr. R.A. Vernon and his wife, Lady Victory Vernon. We love them, and so we will a lot of times tune into especially Dr. R.A. Vernon's Bible cast that he has. And so we thought this one was really interesting. Do you want to keep a man? And so this one is talking to women. And Dr. Vernon, he had made a lot of points for women when it comes to keeping your husband, or even if you're single, and how to attract a man. And then he also did a second part to that, which was talking to men about women and how to keep women. But today we're going to focus on the men. So should we get into it?
Absolutely.
It's good. Okay, so this is Dr. Vernon's podcast that he put together. We are just here to talk about the points. It's not for everybody. But we love it. We love it, and because he's very down to earth and he doesn't sugarcoat. So I personally appreciate that. So one of the first points that we want to talk about that was talked about in the Bible cast is number one: a man needs an attractive woman. Now, before y'all get all crazy on me, not looking at the outside physical beauty, but attractive in just kind of a way a woman kind of keeps herself. It has nothing to do with like vain beauty or weight or sizes or colors or anything like that, or races or anything like that. It's more about being attractive in the way that you present yourself, in the way you keep yourself. One point that he made was, he said, men, and I want to know what you think about this. And we're talking about with Christian men, okay? This is we're talking about Christian men. Are not necessarily initially attracted to your spiritual Holy Ghost self, not your spirituality, but the first thing that attracts a man is physical. So that the physical is what grabs you, is what he said, but the spirituality is what keeps you. So do you agree with Dr. Vernon?
Absolutely. I understand that. You're not going to see the spirit or the how someone prays, or the way they, I don't know. That's not the first thing you see. The outfits, the dress, is the first thing. Unfortunately, the physical is the first thing you encounter. And understanding that is, I think there's a big stigma on, okay, well, as a Christian woman, you shouldn't dress away or dress down, I guess. But yeah, attractive is attractive. It's all about how you present it. Mm-hmm. You can have on the dress down to the floor. If it's done correctly, then you'll attract, I guess, the type.
Yeah, because you can actually be sensual in that way as well. If your thing is covered, long dressed, if you if you pull that off with an attractiveness of taking care of yourself, that can be attractive as well, right?
Right. Right. Not
Okay.
necessarily saying, okay, well, I have to not have on any clothes or lace or something. It's even the most expensive gowns and things have lace on them, but they're done in such a way that you're covered. So understanding how to use that, I guess, to your advantage is the best way of saying it. But again, you want to be attractive and not, but also understanding what you're attracting, I guess is
that's good. That's good. That's good.
But again, our first sight. I'm sorry, excuse me. Of seeing someone of the opposite sex is okay. Well, how you looked is maybe the approach that you get, or maybe the type of person that you get approached by because of how you look. And a lot of times it's if you just simply take the it's the upkeep part of it. You can be attractive with a jogging suit on. if you choose to execute it the right way. And
that's what he was saying is being the best. He mentioned being the best you that you can be. Being, and that is what is attractive, being the best of you. So even being married for however long, 5, 10, 15 years, don't, I guess, get lazy with it when you're just kind of in the house, scarf on your head all the time. You know what I mean? Like, go ahead and get dressed. Be attractive. You know what I mean? It's not about vain beauty, but it's just kind of the way you're presenting yourself and not, I think, taking your spouse for granted in the way that you look, right? Which leads me to the next point that he made, which was about cell phones and the social media feed. So this is another question I want to ask you. So a lot of times, so y'all know when you're on like Instagram or TikTok or whatever everybody's on social media and whatever is your favorite, what have you, when you're on those, for instance, your Instagram and you're scrolling, your feed sometimes could put something in there. Your algorithm that shouldn't, especially if it's something that's trending. That is, and I'm looking, it happens to women too, and I know it happens to men, where he was saying how in that algorithm, in that feed, something could appear there. For instance, he talks about how he was looking through TikTok and something his son sent them. The next one was these girls half naked jumping up and down on the beach, right? And so those are the things he mentioned, and you can tell me, and this is a question for you, that men are having to deal with. Those are the temptations that are out there, right? And so I guess if you're at home and you're kind of taking yourself for granted and just kind of like doing bare minimum, but the enemy, right, is coming through on that phone and showing your husband things that he might like. I don't know your husband, but it could be something that is physically, when I say like, I mean physically attractive to him. That can be a struggle, right? What do you feel just about that part?
I understand, I guess, the trying to explain this as best I can. The algorithm and the algorithm soliciting for whatever reason. Again, it's a lot of times the amount of things that it's like pushing an agenda. You'll have 4 or 5 things on your feed about maybe Mother's Day, which passed recently, and people just uplifting their mothers, talking about mothers, and then boom, just because of how the algorithm is, it'll be a swimsuit issue of something, and it's like, well, I didn't pull that up, or I didn't want that even on my feed, but it happens because there's a understanding of, okay, well, we're trying to sell something. We're trying to push this agenda to all men. So here is this, we're gonna just throw in here to get you off of what you were doing and maybe onto another stream or a line of things that then you can get into your spirit, your wallet, your relationship, your time, your mind. So to avoid those things, it's trying to then, it's not something you can control totally. So a lot of times it's the self-control and the self-awareness to then say, okay, well, I'm just gonna go ahead and just scroll right past it. And try to keep on your path, I guess, or what you're, or what you're trying to do, and understanding that that's the algorithm is directly there to do that that thing that and is trying, it's a guiding you to whatever the agenda may be, and using social media for what it's for. It can be a tool to do a lot of things, but don't be used by social media. Use social media. I think is a better way of saying it. And just understanding that again, there is an agenda. So and it's especially with married men or it's a whole different thing. I felt like we kind of talked about it a few other times about the agenda of the Black relationship not just being solid anymore. You'll see more videos, clips, reels, whatever you want to call it, about how bad relationships are. Then you'll see of the opposite of, hey, it's this marriage is working, or we're doing this, we're blending this family, like anniversary videos you hardly ever see, but you can pull out your phone and see 10 different things about who's dating who or not dating who, and what's going on, what's all wrong with their relationship. And that's just the agenda that's being pushed, and understanding that to get away from that, it then it can lend to your spirit, and it can get into your house and get to your relationship and cause a whole bunch of unnecessary ruckus.
And then definitely taking you off course, because what that is doing, you're on your feed, and that whatever soft porn, whatever you want to call it, has popped up on your screen, that is really the enemy planting a seed within you, right? Because even when you turn that off, that seed has been planted. And so those are images in your mind that you're constantly thinking on, right? So another thing that Dr. Vernon talks about was just like marrying what you like. Like, if what you saw on social media is what you like, did you marry also what you like? You right? Because there's a preference, right? For men and women, tall, dark, and handsome, or or short or light, or small, thin, petite, or curvaceous. Everyone has a preference, whether we like it or not, whether we want to admit it or not. We all have a preference. So one thing he challenged men on is, did you actually marry what you like? Because the enemy is serving up what you like. Right? Those seeds are being planted. But then you go home, did you marry what you like? And so that, that's the question I asked my husband. But you can ask your husband or your soon-to-be husband those types of questions. And then one thing he said, and just tell me your honest opinion, which I thought was hilarious. He said, we, because he's a man, he said, we're saved, but we still nasty. I thought that was great. Like, what do you feel about Dr. Vernon? I'm going to tell you something. I love him. If I could get back to Ohio and just go to one service in person, that would be amazing. But what do you think about what he said?
Just agreeing. If you're looking at your wife and you're not, there's like, is like a blog kind of. That's that something. Conversation needs to be had, I guess. But understanding that, yes, it's very interesting to see, especially when he talks so vividly and passionately about his wife. Because it then kind of sets a gauge for other people. And again, if you have a moment, please just look up any of his videos. Just about he's always talking about how fine he thinks his wife is and all this other stuff.
Yes, he's very into
So I guess seeing that, it makes you think, because it's like, okay, well, yeah, as a gauge, why am I not to say you love your wife and then not, I guess, pour into her and say, hey, I love you. I love how you look. I love how you dress. I like that. Those things, right? Yeah, those things are just they coincide. Yeah. And if you don't have that, then
So going back to the men are saved but nasty, women. Okay, y'all can't. Let me say this. Y'all can't be withholding sex. Now, there are some reasons to withhold sex, because we have women's things going on or whatever. But if your only reason is you're lazy, you're tired, you just don't feel like it, his breath stank or whatever it is, that's not a good reason. Go ahead and have sex with that man, because men are saved, but they are still nasty. So and I know some people are like, what are you saying? But I'm just being honest and transparent and real right now. Like, if there is not a solid reason, do not withhold sex. Give that man what he needs, okay? Please. Okay, we're gonna move on because we don't want to run out of time. So the next one is was really important, and these are all important. Men need honor and respect. And 1 Peter 3:4 was the Bible verse for this particular one, and I'll read that. It says, and I'm going to read the NIV. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. And be quiet, Dr. Vernon talked about that not being sit down and shut up, but more of quiet being like understanding a time and a place for everything. Understanding when it's time to be quiet, when it's time to speak up, when it's time to edify, when it's time to hold back, like having that gentle and quiet spirit and being what he needs. Very important, honor and respect. Now, you want to talk about honor and respect and how important that is to a man?
I'm just understanding that, again, if it's just a piece. All men want it. All men probably ask for it. It's just how you are going about it. Confrontation is usually met with confrontation. So if you have grievous words or things of that nature, you're probably not at peace. So then understanding if you want peace, then taking the time to say, okay, well, if I could pull back and listen, then only then will the respect and the honor come in, and you get it some reciprocity type thing. And understanding that if you want that, then you have to give grace to receive grace. And just what that means is the honor and the respect, the appreciation sometimes makes all the difference in the world. A simple thank you or yes or yes sir can make all the difference in the world. Even with your spouse, because there should be some respect there too, because it goes up the absolute other way. Yes, ma'am. Okay, I'm not finna sit here for 10 minutes about something that could be fixed in 30 seconds. Like, why? And once you then learn that, then you can, I think, expect the honor and the respect part of it.
Yeah, and Dr. Vernon talks about some of y'all ladies are not gonna like what I'm about to say. It's just how we're strong women and we get out there and we educate ourselves to bachelors, masters, PhDs, and we kind of do all that and we make a name for ourselves. And he was talking about how men they support us, but men don't care about how many degrees that you have. So and it's not that we're not doing that for them, but we can't then throw that in their face or put ourselves above them because we feel like we have all these degrees or accolades, and men don't care about that, right? Men want someone that's gonna respect and honor them, to treat them well, right? To affirm them. Right. And he talks about how men end up at some chick's house at the projects who ain't got nothing, but she over there saying, "Hey baby, you okay, baby?" With good macaroni and then he said, and he said, cooking some macaroni and cheese. And your man and left your house in the suburbs and is over there at the projects with Betty, who's being nice and sweet and making macaroni and cheese because he don't care nothing about all those degrees and that big old house. It's about honor and respect, right? And then the last thing he talks about was affirmation. And I wanted to ask you this. He was saying from the wife, it's important that we affirm our husbands, right? Tell them that we support them. Tell them you did a great job, how wonderful you are. You can do it, right? Do you feel like that is important coming from me, from the wife?
Yes, very much so. Okay. It's I almost can't even explain it, but to just hear a good job or again, like I said, a simple thank you sometimes makes all the difference in the world. Like kind of how she was just saying, oh well, in a time or in a maybe a conflict or something, to ramble off all your credentials takes more time, more effort, and sets you back further than simply saying, oh, okay, well, thank you for this, and I think we should just leave it alone. And again, this is just conflict resolution. Just a simple, okay, well, thank you for doing this, but I may have wanted you to do something else or something like that. It just something just that simple can change a whole dynamic. Again, I've seen relationships go very bad in a short amount of time, and then you have those that are long suffering, but it's still a bad relationship. If you can't even be in the room together, then your relationship is suffering. But it seems like when you get back to the root of the problem, it's a simple affirmation. And again, relationship work comes from both sides. And that's a big thing. I feel like it's maybe kind of misconstrued now because it doesn't mean, okay, ladies just submit and ball up and take everything. No, there has to be work on the men's side of it too. To just hear my wife, whom I hold in such a high esteem, somebody that I hold in such a high esteem, saying, hey, I appreciate you means the world to me. It's a major moment, and it's a help thing, and it's just understanding those things, because without it, I feel like it lends to a lot of things creeping in, and you get inside your own head about stuff, and then there's turmoil or things aren't going well. But if done, correctly or done with some understanding, then things are different.
The last, one of the other scriptures that Dr. Vernon mentioned was Genesis 2:18. It says, the Lord God said, it is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him. And, you know, being your husband's helper, right? It's not just about, and I know we talked about sex, but it's not just about sex or anything like that, or just being able to, you know, clean the kitchen and have sex. That's not what we're talking about. But as far as, you know, being a helper, and that goes back to being supportive, being someone who edifies him, being someone who can be his peace in a very crazy world, not his headache. And Dr. Vernon talks about, you know, from a man's point of view, he said, of course, you know, a man's going to protect and provide because that's what he's built to do. But a woman understanding that she's not there just to be just an afterthought or a shadow, but to be his helper, right?
Support. That's
yeah.
Backbone.
Yeah.
Right. It goes back to the not just with this scripture, the not being alone part. Understanding that once you've made the decision, especially with marriage, to if you want to take on the lead and be the head of the household, nothing moves without your support system. So understanding how to then change yourself, pray for understanding of moving and doing things, and how that then again how that works, how that dynamic works. Everything is different per person, honestly. But understanding that if you want to move forward and you want to not be alone, then okay, what things do I need to do to then what is it, blend with this or unify with this person, this other person, or my spouse, my significant other. Yes. Only unity will, and love and God and grace. You have to then consider these things to be who you need to be for each other, and I think that's
absolutely
kind of what he was
kind of mentioning.
Right.
All right, well, this has been a great show. We'll try to come back next week and do the second part, which was speaking to men about what women need, right? So today we kind of focused on the men, and that's okay, ladies. We'll come back and focus on us. We thank you for coming, and we will see you again next week. All right.
God bless.
Bye.